Planning Board meeting for December 21st, 2020. First item on the agenda, attendance. Alyssa, if you can do a roll call for quorum.
Absolutely. Chairman Scott Shelton.
Present.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan.
Present.
Nicholas Nash.
Present.
Terry Nolan.
Present.
Deepa Limay.
Present.
Charlie Thomas.
Present.
James Granger. Stephanie Coffey. And that's it.
Thank you, Alyssa. It does appear we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Item B. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda. Bob and I do.
I'll second. It's all right. Thanks. Sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda. Alyssa, can we get a vote?
Okay. Chairman Scott Shelton.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan.
Aye.
Nicholas Nash.
Aye.
Terry Nolan.
Aye.
Deepa Limay.
Aye.
Charlie Thomas.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you. All right, next order of business, item C, minutes for correction and approval. Minutes from January 17th, hard to believe, 2020. Does anyone have any corrections? All right, so no corrections. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I move it approved as written.
Okay, so I believe we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Any discussion on this item? No discussion apparently. Melissa, can we have a vote?
Sure. Chairman Scott Shelton.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan.
Aye.
Nicholas Nash.
Aye.
Terry Nolan.
Aye.
Deepa Limay.
Aye.
Charlie Thomas.
Aye.
The ayes are unanimous.
Thank you. So next item on the agenda, D, old business, which we have none. The next item on the agenda, E, new business. And task number 1, planning board training workshop. With that, I'll turn it over to Alyssa.
Thank you, Chairman. And our IT department will be controlling the presentation. So thank you all for coming to the planning board training for December 21st, 2020 planning board meeting. Next slide, Matt. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Elisa Neal. I'm a planner at the town of Waxhaw. I got my master's degree at Appalachian State University with my undergraduate at UNC Charlotte. And we have with us today Senior Planner Blair Israel.
Hello.
And Senior Planner Madison Miller.
Hello.
And Jeff Wells is the Planning Director and Town Manager. He's not with us today at this meeting. And Max Shang is the GIS Planner for the town. Next slide. So the topics to be discussed today. First, we'll talk about the land use plan, the Unified Development Ordinance, and the Land Development Code. Then I'll discuss the roles and relationships of governing boards, the planning board, and the staff. Then I'll talk about the NC Open Meetings Law. We'll discuss the rules of procedure, quickly cover the conflicts of interest during planning board meetings, and then go over the statements of consistency and reasonableness. Next slide, please. The land use plan in Waxhaw addresses the community's vision. It addresses how the community will achieve that vision, what the steps are to achieve that vision, and it also acts as a guidance for community leaders, planners, and developers. Next slide. Within the land use plan, it discusses zoning districts, and these promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. They act as a set of restrictions on the way the land can be used, and they're made in accordance with the comprehensive plan. They can also govern the size of lots, the size of buildings, and multiple other things. Next slide. The UDO, or the Unified Development Ordinance, is a local policy instrument that combines multiple sets of regulations, such as traditional zoning, subdivision regulations, design guidelines, and sign regulations. And by combining all these regulations, it helps to streamline and coordinate the development process. The Land Development Code, or the LDC, is something that the Planning Department has been working on for the last year, and we're designing it to conform to the NC General Statute 160D update. By doing this, the conditional use zoning will no longer be allowed in our development code, and the code will be directly linked to adopted plans. We've also included a content neutral sign ordinance. We've reduced our 23 chapters to 13 chapters. We've updated our table of uses from 2004 to current, and there will be more uses by right with more supplemental regulations.
Yeah, if I could actually jump in here too, Elisa. Yep. So our Unified Development Ordinance is very outdated. Like I said, it was originally drafted and adopted in 2004. So it's in very need of updating. And so we are going from our UDO, our Unified Development Ordinance, to our now Land Development Code. So if you guys were with us earlier in the year, you guys got to look at some of our Land Development Code chapters. So we're still working on the board with this document on approval, but it's been a long time coming. And so this will be the new governing docket for new development that comes into town. So this would be pretty much like the holy grail for planning as far as it comes to Waxhaw. So just wanted to add that little bit of information there.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely. And
I don't know if you want them all at the end or in the middle, but
no,
is that document a live document that we can see and have access to?
Yeah, so we have our current Unified Development Ordinance online, but then we also have this document online where we talk about our growth strategy. So it talks about how we kind of came to this point in our LDC writing material. So it goes through our previous public input before COVID, and then public input we've had during COVID. And so it's a live document that breaks it out by chapter, which is on our website. We can provide a link to you guys after that, especially for new members, if taking a look at it, because as I said, we're kind of going through this step by step with our Board of Commissioners now to kind of get their comfort level with it, get their input on it before we have a public hearing to receive one final bit of public input from the residents. So it's a working document. We update it weekly, daily, I would even say, especially as we're reviewing it with our Board of Commissioners.
Great.
Yeah, Madison, the work the staff is doing on this has been wonderful. And for the new members that are coming in, Terry, Deepa, Charles, this is great timing. You guys are coming in at this juncture with this LDC being developed, and they were kind enough to ask the board members of the past to weigh in, review chapters, elicit our input, which was really appreciated. And I think the final product will be a result of that.
So this may be a dumb question, but the mixed use development that everybody's been talking about, is that within and kind of subordinate to this larger document that you're talking about?
Mixed use development, is it talking about like the idea, or is it an actual project? If I could ask.
So I'm sorry, I'm forgetting that. I think there's a different name for it, that the developers have been working with the commission on particular areas in the downtown and rezoning it all to mixed use. Current project.
The current project. So there was a rezoning that came forward not too long ago. It was for pretty much a residential zoning district to more of a urban neighborhood zoning district where the density was a little higher.
I think that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, just kept trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah. So
Right,
that's
I think that's what it is. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Okay. That's zoning districts that are in our current unified development ordinance in our current zoning districts.
Okay.
So one of the terms we've been using for this, so along with our land development code adoption, we are going to be adopting a whole new zoning map. So we're going for, which we'll cover, I think, later in this presentation. So I think we go from about 17 zoning districts to now we're having a base of 8.
Mm-hmm.
So we're consolidating a lot of that. So the project you're talking about is under our current zoning district. And so, so that parcel for the development, they had pretty much 75% of what they want to do entitled as far as the correct zoning district. And so the rezoning itself was just to get, I think, 2 more of their parcels rezoned to do like a more of their project.
I think I might have been referring to both, actually, just in due course discussions with the commissioners. Several things had come up, so I was trying to get a handle. But thank you, that helped me figure that out. I'll let you get to it at the end then. Thanks for the.
Yeah, as questions come up, feel free to ask throughout. I mean, it's more of an open dialogue. We don't want to make it feel like it's just here's a boatload of information and hope you can remember it. It's more of a dialogue between us and the planning board. Just so feel free to ask questions throughout.
All right, Madison?
Yes.
Are there any non-conforming uses out there as a result of the new land development code?
Are there any new what? I couldn't quite catch the first part.
Non-conforming uses?
So non-conforming uses, I'm trying to think of any off the top of my head. So maybe one of the bigger things might be non-conforming lot sizes as far as setbacks and whatnot. But we've tried to tailor. I mean, we went through and measured a lot of the lots as far as residential lots to make sure they kind of fit within our new zoning district, so they're immediately not non-conforming. So example of this would be the Ardmore apartments. So in our new zoning district, there is not going to be any more ground level apartments in the downtown. So we've restricted that explicitly to our employment center, one of our new zoning districts we're creating. So we zoned the Ardmore Apartments Employment Center because they're brand new, and if we wouldn't have done so, they would have been immediately a non-conforming use. So we try to catch a lot of that on the forefront, and as we continue to work through different parcels, we kind of keep a lot of that in our mind as far as non-conforming uses. But I mean, there's already plenty of non-conforming uses in the town now. So I hope that answers your question. That kind of sidelined a little bit.
That's fine. I think you did answer the question.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we can move forward.
Next slide, Matt. Awesome. So now I'll kind of switch over and start talking about the roles and relationships of our governing boards and the staff. So the first governing board is the Board of Commissioners, and they have their authority from NCA general statutes. The Board of Commissioners focuses on legislation and policy, and they set the direction of the town And they also kind of set the tone for the town by creating mission, by creating a vision for the town, and by creating values for the town. They also adopt budget and levy property taxes. They identify and communicate the community needs. They appoint the town manager and town attorney, and they also appoint advisory boards and commissions, such as the planning board. Next slide. Thank you. The planning board is commonly composed of 7 regular members and 2 alternate members, and all the members serve in staggered 3-year terms. The main role of the planning board is to be an advisory board to the Board of Commissioners and provide recommendations for approval or denial in accordance with the comprehensive plan, small area plans, rezonings, conditional and special use permits, text amendments, and major subdivisions. They also ensure proper planning for the future growth of Waxhaw. And sorry, my notes disappeared. And what is deemed to be the best interests of the town of Waxhaw. And the planning board also meets every 3rd Monday of the month at 6:30 p.m. And we commonly meet at the police department community room, although lately we've been meeting virtually due to COVID. So some of the decisions that different boards and groups make are administrative, legislative, and quasi-judicial. So administrative decisions are usually made by the zoning administrator and planning staff, and these can include administrative permits, vested right claims, minor and exempt subdivision reviews and approvals. And legislative decisions are commonly made by the Board of Commissioners. These can include zoning text amendments, zoning map amendments, conditional zonings, and major subdivisions. And quasi-judicial decisions can be made by either the Board of Commissioners or the Board of Adjustment, depending on what type of approval they are, whether special use permit or appeals and variances. So for the planning board, we have a staff liaison, which would be me right now. And what I do is I develop agendas for the planning board. I also maintain minutes for every single meeting. I keep the attendance records of all of the members. I notify the clerk's office of any special meetings that are required. I notify the planning board members of all upcoming meetings and developments. I ensure that legal and administrative requirements are met by the planning board. And I can act as a resource on town policies and procedures. So some of the procedural responsibilities are set up by the NC Open Meetings Law. This law dictates that all meetings are to be open to the public. There must be a physical notice be given 48 hours in advance of all open meetings. A quorum is required to hold the meeting, and usually for the planning board, that quorum is at least half of the members have to be present. And the minutes must be recorded at all open meetings. For the planning board members, there are expectations. One is that planning board members should attend all meetings as often as possible. If you miss 3 consecutive meetings in a row, your seat may be vacated on the planning board. And if you don't show up to a meeting, you will not receive your stipend for attendance. Members are expected to vote on all matters presented by our staff, and they're also expected to represent the town in an official capacity. So some of the rules of procedure, again, the meeting time for the planning board is every 3rd Monday, 6:30 p.m. Right now it's virtual, but hopefully soon we'll go back to meeting in person. And agendas are sent out 1 week before every planning board meeting. And this is both virtual and hand delivered to you as well. Again, a majority vote is required for making an approval or denial on the planning board. Again, if you miss 3 planning board meetings consecutively, your seat may be vacated. And sometimes there arises some conflict of interest at planning board meetings. And these conflict of interest can include financial conflicts, personal biases, and association with the applicant from the case. So just going over conflicts of interest a bit more, North Carolina General Statute 160D-109B explains more in depth about what conflict of interests are, mainly that they're related to the conflict having a financial impact on the planning board member, or the planning board member having a close familial business or associational relationship with the applicant of the case. If there is a conflict of interest, you should immediately declare that you have a conflict of interest at the beginning of the planning board meeting. Abstain from all discussion and voting on the matter. Seat yourself in the audience. If we were in person, you would seat yourself in the audience and not voice your opinion or concern on the case at hand. And the last thing, when the planning board makes any type of recommendation for approval or denial, you will have to approve a statement of consistency as well as a statement of reasonableness for the case. A statement of consistency says whether or not the case is consistent with a comprehensive plan or any other relevant plan that's been adopted by the governing board. And a statement of reasonableness says whether the case is reasonable and in the public interest. And sometimes a case can be consistent but not reasonable, or it can be reasonable but not consistent with the land use plan.
And Alyssa, I'll just interject one thing. To the new members, the town staff does a great job on writing out those statements, reasonable or unreasonable, and consistent, inconsistent statements. So if you do a motion, it's right there for you to read. So that does help when the time comes.
Yep, so I'll open it up for any questions or comments.
I do have a question.
Mhm.
So is there a running list of projects given at all times, or is it one at a time? Or how does it end up
Do you mean
playing
like,
out for working
you
on
mean
it?
is there a list of developer projects?
Yeah, things that we would want to consider and look into, do our homework on.
So most of our developer projects are on our website under the developer projects tab, and that is a running list. I keep it up to date.
Okay.
And I make sure that every single week that it's up to date and anything new is put on there immediately.
Okay, and for those of us that are new and might need some guidance over, what to discern on those, do you recommend that we go through all of the lists right now and be ready to discuss all of them, or is there a particular cadence? And do we discuss particular projects? Do we have an open forum scheduled for each one, or how does that work going forward?
Yeah. So I'll elaborate on that. So I think the developer project page online are projects that are kind of going through the motions as far as either they have a by right development or they're on their way to the planning board or board of commissioners. So as new projects come up, those will be included in your agenda packet. And so if we have, so for example, if we have a conditional rezoning, they are required to submit like a site plan. So you actually get to see the layout of the site. Sometimes they'll have a landscaping plan or elevations attached as well. And so as a planning board, we usually invite the applicant to come. They usually give their own presentation and their own speech. And then you can, ask them questions. You can be involved because it's a legislative process where you can have open dialogue. Now, if you had something like a new development coming through where, so it's going to be called in our new ordinance a special use permit. And so someone would get a special use permit if they don't have a development by right. But this is an evidentiary hearing. So it's the quasi judicial process where every statement has to be factually based. Anyone who has to speak or will speak has to be sworn in. So for new developments like that require board of commissioner approval, will come before you guys as well. So you guys are the recommending body. And so when we present to the Board of Commissioners on these projects, we always include what the planning board recommendation was. So they usually look at that, they take that into consideration along with their own questions and concerns that they may have for development. So the developer project page might be a good insight to look at to see what's going on around in town as far as what's already been either approved, something that's already been developed that's brand new. So for example, the Aldi and the Bojangles may still be on there from Carrington Square because it's a more recently approved project. And upcoming things will be on there. So I believe the upcoming Arby's is on there as well. So it gives you a chance to look at the site plan, the layout, elevations. So if you want to become more familiarized with site plans, I would say take a look at those. But you guys will get packets printed and emailed of the site plans when those development projects come forward.
Great, thank you, very helpful. And so to summarize, anything coming up that we would be required to make a discernment, we would be at this meeting, and it would be on the minutes, and it would be tabled at that time.
Well, yeah, so
Going forward.
You'll get your packet a week at a time to kind of get you ready to look at it. I mean, we definitely ask that you do look at it beforehand, rather than, if we're in person scrolling through it, trying to read the packet real quick. We always try to advise, take a look at it, a couple of days in advance, get familiar with it, and then come ready for questions or comments. But
if it's on the website, it's done, and that's turned over already. So we're good with that. Good to get yourself familiar, but going forward, it will come to us, and that's how we know it triggers. Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you for the explanation. It's really helpful.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to what Madison was saying, as far as and getting back to your question about, what should you be looking at or how to prepare. I would say I would like to recommend that get as familiar as you can with the future land use plan, because that's what that's what the consistency vote is all about. North Carolina law requires that projects be judged according to the municipalities or the jurisdiction's land use plan, and so that's why you're called to make a judgment on whether it is consistent with that or not. So the more familiar you are with that plan and the intentions behind that plan, the ideas behind it, the more informed that decision can be, and also it gives you, I think, a better footing for saying, okay, yeah, it's not consistent with this. Perhaps this project isn't consistent with the plan, but it's still reasonable, and here's why. So it just prepares you better for making those two decisions that you're called upon.
Great, thanks, Blair.
Yeah, Blair, I was going to go there myself. That's a good explanation. And to the new members, the packages that they send out, they distribute to us are very thorough. It's hard to picture this, when they're talking about it, but when you receive the packages that include the agenda, they have plans on them, prints, developer site plans. They have a laundry list of details to it. And then, like I said, the whole list of reasonable, not reasonable, inconsistent, consistent statements, town staff recommendations. It consists of all that. So it's very thorough, the package you receive, and gives you a lot of material to review to be prepared for the upcoming meeting. So I would just do that, and then take advantage of the resources, ask the questions to Alyssa, to Blair, to Matt, etc. And you'll do well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say something quick. Yeah, like Matt was saying, like the Aldi was a recent one. That was like 3 years ago, maybe. So it takes a while. How long ago was it? 2 years, 3 years?
Good point.
So it takes a while before something hits us, before it actually gets built anyway. So it's a very long process. Like those apartments downtown, those are like, I don't know, what was 10 years ago, something like that. It's like, so I mean, these things are long range plans that go forward. They're not something where it happens right away. So I mean, and I know one of the meetings we had at the training sessions, I think, was it Jeff was saying that out of all the things they get, it's a small percentage that actually make it to the planning board. Like out of the things that you get approached about, the town gets approached about, they usually go through them, they vet them pretty clearly, they make sure they're, consistent with the laws, rules, and regs that we have, and then they go forward. I think it was like maybe 1 out of 15 or 1 out of 20, or maybe even less. Is that right, Matt? Or
Yeah, so I would say we have a lot of dialogue with developers who are interested in parcels that may be for sale. We talk with them. We introduce them to our ordinance and our TIA ordinance, which is our traffic impact analysis ordinance. I will respectfully say that about 8 out of 10 developments get scared because of our traffic impact analysis. So they'll have the study done, they'll see the results and the mitigations required, and then we never hear from them again. So I mean, it's because about every intersection along Providence Road, from downtown all the way up to Bonds Grove, about every intersection is already failing. And so if any additional development or any traffic creators input traffic on these roads, I mean, the mitigations are usually pretty expensive, especially when you build a development, you put in the roadway improvements, and NCDOT is going to come through, rip them out, put in their new super street. And so it's kind of a tug of war between developers as far as them putting money into the improvements versus not. But yeah, we vet a lot of it. We walk them through the process and kind of guide them as far as expectations. And so Bob's absolutely correct. I mean, we talk with developers all the time, and the amount that you see, I would probably say 1 out of 15, 1 out of 20, maybe, if I were just to put out a number.
With that said, though, we do expect that with the adoption of the land development code, if that goes through and I guess late this winter, we do expect to see an upturn in the number of applicants and interested developers. So I guess be ready for that. There might be.
And why is that? Does that remove the burden of the traffic flow from the developer?
No, it does not. It does not at all. I'm just, we expected because a number of developers might have already approached us already and saw that we were doing the new land development code. They judged that it would be to their advantage to wait, to take advantage of, I think, it could be to their advantage for a number of reasons. So they decided to wait until, or we believe they have, until the new code is out there.
So I'll further explain on that. So in our ordinance now, a lot of properties in town require development come to the board for approval. And so there will be a lot of that as well for some of our larger developments or particular developments depending on size. But one of the things with our new land development code is it's creating more uses by right, but we're adding in more supplemental regulation to kind of guide that particular development. And so one of the things that the state is getting rid of, we may have mentioned, was the conditional use district zoning. So we were either annexing properties into the town and then creating a zoning district for them when there were no attached site plans to the property or there were no approved developments for the property. So, I mean, this particular zoning district was used quite commonly with other jurisdictions, if it makes sense. And the state is completely, they're outlawing it. They're not having it be a type of procedure anymore. So we're already in the middle of wanting to rewrite our zoning code. And so we're lining it up with this update that is required by the state. So yeah, it's a lot. It's an integral system with what the state is requiring and then what we just kind of need with an outdated ordinance.
So thank you for that. Does this mean that we'll expand the horizon for commercial use beyond what it had been? Is that why? More opportunity in a greater variety of area?
So we're trying to strive for you know, a better tax base where, you know, we've thrown this number out a lot. It used to be 93% residential, 7% commercial, but I think it's now 90% commercial and 10%, or 90% residential, 10% commercial. Sorry, got that mixed up there. So we're trying to create a bigger tax base for commercial uses. And so one of these cool little methods we're doing it, we're creating a zoning district called neighborhood center. And so we want small nodes of commercial development to where you don't have to get in your car and drive. You could walk 5-10 minutes to these centers, or you can ride your bike and you can go to the local coffee shop, or you can go, you know, to a bakery or a small grocery store and get your items, rather than having to drive or hop in your car, drive to the local Harris Teeter and then drive 15 minutes back or 10 minutes back. So we're wanting to do these cool new centers, have it be more pedestrian friendly, have it be more walkable, to kind of instill more of a commercial development as well. So, and I'll say I mean, I don't know any other town that's written their code all in-house. I mean, we've tried writing our ordinance before where we've used consultant, and, you know, we get so far, then planning staff turns over and then we never do anything with it. But we've had a steady planning department and we've been able to write all this in-house. You know, Blair and myself have written a lot. Elisa's written and contributed. So we've taken it as a full department project, and then kind of done something cool with it.
I think that makes sense, because when you write it yourself, you kind of own it, and then it's more and more kind of you're interested in. Like you said, if it comes from some consultant or something, it's not as equally owned as such when we write our own code.
That's a very good point. And I would say that's true not only for the staff ownership, but the town ownership, meaning that we, you know, even though a consultant might have done some public input, I think that our public input process has been much more personal and constant. And as staff for this particular town, rather than consultants who work with lots of towns, you know, we're very focused on what are the particular needs of this town. So we believe very strongly that it's given it more of a personal touch, but more of a Waxhaw imprint, and more unique with Waxhaw.
Right. And Matt, what you were saying about the neighborhood center, wasn't there some like an open house or some discussion somewhere in late summer in September? I remember I missed coming there, but there was something announced or some introduced as an open thing for the Waxhaw township people. Yeah,
we've held, in total, we've held 4 of these open houses. The first 2 were to kind of gauge what people were interested in having as far as uses. So it could range from, you know, a drive-in theater to you know, I don't know, a theater to, you know, bakeries or more parks or anything really. I mean, that you would like. And we kind of gauged what people were interested in as far as, you know, working here, playing here, living here, and shopping here. And so we took a lot of that information and we created different zoning districts. And then I think the one you were talking about this past, gosh, was it September? It wasn't.
I think that we had the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was September. I had seen it and I literally planned to come in there, but I had some issues with my car and I could not make it there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in addition to the meetings, we also had online opportunities that were very similar. People could get very similar input. So yeah, we are planning, our public input process has been a lot about finding out through various ways. When people came to the meetings, they could get involved in various ways. but find out about what's going on, the kind of growth that we do expect to see in Waxhaw. And so the question is, well, how do we channel that growth? How do we best manage that growth? Not whether we wanted growth or not. We just, we looked at the numbers and said, this is happening. So how do we best channel things? And so people had opportunity to weigh in on what they think the main issues were in Waxhaw and what needed the most attention. And the two biggest issues, although there were a number of others, was we want to maintain that small town feel, or the unique historic town feel that Waxhaw has, and also deal with all the traffic. So in addition to a few other goals, that's what all our planning efforts were geared towards, is how do you solve for those issues, and how do you do it in a way that is coordinated? I mean, if you're going to solve for one, you need a coordinated strategy. And so we came up with that through the tools that we had to work with. And a lot of that's, we're very limited in the tools that we have, but the main one is zoning. And so we, planned out what would help build roads, what would help alleviate traffic problems. And Madison described the neighborhood centers and how that can help. But another unique thing about this plan are the employment centers. So when we talk about increasing commercial, we're also increasing another non-residential use, and that's just employment centers, where we are in the beginnings of trying to attract larger employers and into areas where we feel is uniquely suited to those places, and also uniquely suited to help us build the bypass roads, the eastern and western connector, help us to build those through their own investment, through their own development. And that will do more than anything to help alleviate the traffic problems here, in addition to whenever NCDOT is ready to build or expand in Highway 16.
To make it double lane all the way through Waxhaw up downtown.
Well, actually, it's not going to go all the way. It would go to where these connectors are. And if you know where the east connector is now, and it's really just kind of a road to nowhere, but it's right there at Town Hall. That's where the widened 16 will stop. And so our vision that we think is the vision of the town, really, through all our, the input that we've been able to get, not only from the public, but also the Board of Commissioners and yourselves. Highway 16, the vision is have Highway 16 continue, but not straight down, but to the side, to perhaps that eastern connector. And that way, the part of 16 that goes south of that area can be more like a main street, can be more usable to local businesses and residents, and not just a busy, overly busy road.
Thank you very much for your explanation.
Yeah, I have a quick question again. I'm sorry. You were saying that you expected to go through sometime later on this winter through the Board of Commissioners, the LDC?
That is correct. Yep. So we're hoping for maybe the public hearing in February with Board of Commissioner approval late February or sometime in March is what we're looking for. So first quarter of next year, which is right around the corner. I mean, it's coming quick. We have a couple more scheduled BOC work sessions where we're taking our new land development code chapter by chapter, sometimes line by line, going through everything, ensuring that the Board of Commissioners are comfortable with what we've done, rather than, kind of the thing with a consultant coming in, drafting the ordinance, presenting it, and then everyone being okay with it without actually reading line for line. So we're trying to do a thorough job, but also a good job.
No, it's impressive what you've done. I mean, Jeff came in like spring of 2019, and then the work on that started shortly thereafter. So it's been on for a while, which is great. And I mean, I remember before that, I mean, they originally tried to do this back in like 2016 or something like that. So it's taken forever. But I mean, it's so great that it's such a good planning department is so many professionals. And I mean, like I said, when we looked over it, it looked really good, for my opinion. So, I mean, it's exciting. We're getting to the point where it's almost going to be actually adopted by the commissioners, hopefully before the spring, but we'll see what happens. But thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you, Bob. Thank you for the support.
Great. Is there any other questions?
No, thank you. This was really good discussion.
Well, I don't have any other questions, but I want to compliment you all because I'm new to Waxhaw. Love this town and everything we've got going on is fantastic. Moving my father down here to Waxhaw from Michigan, and we are putting him at the Ardmore at Price.
Oh,
So I don't know if you all had, so thank you for that development because it is fantastic. Have you seen the insides of these apartments? They're really high end. They're very, very nice. He's actually getting a 3-bedroom to give him some space for an office and that, but granite countertops, beautiful view. We couldn't be happier. He is so excited. He's 76 years old, still exercises. He's got a gym in there and a pool. So well done on that. He's so excited. He's a block from the water tower, and it just makes his heart happy to be able to get out and walk to the town. He's already met, he visited and wore his little hat that said Air Force, and I think 6 people thanked him for his service when he went down there. So gotta love Waxhaw. And then he's building a house, which is your other approval at Broad Street at Grove Manor.
Oh, okay.
On Waxhaw Marvin Road, the steel frame home.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and that's just spectacular. I think, oh man, they can't keep up with the people going in over there. So he'll be in
That's right across the
6
entry,
months at the
yeah.
apartment and then in. So thanks, because it's all working out great. So y'all done a great job.
Oh, well,
We're excited
welcome
to
Waxhaw.
see this grow.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he's moving down here as well, and
Thank
enjoying the developments that we've worked with. So no, any compliment is usually great because planning can sometimes be a controversial topic in town, but no, we appreciate the positive feedback.
Yeah, and it's good. I know sometimes you just, shot in the dark if you approve or not, but just really strong feedback. And I have a real estate background and builder background. So, both of those just great. Well done. So thanks for all the work.
Oh, I agree with Terry. And that is what has intrigued me to join this board, that how well, because I've seen the growth from 2016 to 2020. I've been here almost 5 years now, and that's what has increased. But now I'm getting to know that's all the hard work and all the in-depth thing and ownership of all the codes and development that's been happening. Great.
All right, very good. Well, task 1, planning board training workshop. We'll have that completed. Thank you, Alyssa and Matt and Blair for the presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So next order of business is task 2 under the new business, election of officers. So I'll open up the floor for discussion and or nominations.
Well, I mean, the past year, Scott's been the chairman. I think he's done a very good job considering it's been such a weird circumstance. I mean, we stopped having meetings back like last March. I think it had like 2 or 3 meetings under your belt and it was over. So, I mean, I would like to nominate Scott again because I think the chairman can serve 2 terms, 2 years. So, I mean, I think he's done a great job. I mean, under difficult circumstances, and I think it'd be a good opportunity to let him do it for another year. And hopefully eventually we'll start meeting in person. Who knows when, maybe maybe the summer, maybe the fall, but I mean, eventually it'll come back to real life. But so, I mean, that's my opinion about it. And so I would definitely put in a nomination for Scott for chairman. But other people might have other opinions. So, I mean, you could say what you want.
Seems great to me. I'll second that motion.
All right, so any more discussion on that? Going once, going twice? Okay, so if I can have an official motion.
Yeah, I'll move to elect Scott Shelton for chairman for the planning board.
And second.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, so we'll go to a vote. Melissa, can I get a roll call there?
Vice Chair Bob Morgan,
Aye.
Nicholas Nash,
Aye.
Harry Nolan,
Aye.
Deepa LeMay,
Aye.
Charlie Thomas.
Aye.
And the ayes are unanimous.
Cool.
Very
Congrats.
good. So then we'll go on to open the floor for vice chairman. I will open the floor for vice chairman discussion and or nominations. Well, I would like to nominate Mr. Robert Morgan, aka Bob Morgan, for vice chairman. I've had the privilege of working with him in previous boards, and he does an exemplary job. Brings an element of professionalism to each and every board meeting. And with that said, I think he's a good selection, in my opinion, for vice chairman. Any other discussions on this matter? So with that said, anybody? So with that said, can I get a motion for Bob Morgan, vice chair?
I will second the motion.
Great. Any other discussion? All right, Alyssa, can I have a vote, please?
Chairman Scott Shelton,
That's an aye.
Nicholas Nash,
Aye. Aye.
Harry Nolan,
Aye.
Deepa LeMay,
Aye.
Charlie Thomas.
Aye.
The ayes are unanimous.
Well, thank you very much.
Very good.
I appreciate it.
Congrats.
With that, next item on the agenda, item F, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So maybe we adjourn.
I'll second.
So may I have okay, we got a motion to adjourn. Alyssa, can I have a vote?
Chairman Scott Shelton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan,
Aye.
Nicholas Nash. Nicholas Nash,
Aye.
Harry Nolan,
Aye.
Deepa LeMay,
Aye.
Charlie Thomas.
Aye.
The ayes are unanimous.
Great, so we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for their attendance, and I'm looking forward to working with this board. I think we have a great group of people, so looking forward to it. Please have happy holidays.
Everybody,
Okay.
thank you,
Thanks, Scott.
Scott.
Happy
Thank you,
holidays.
everybody. Happy holidays and
Already
congratulations,
got
Bob and
questions.
Scott. Yes, thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Happy holidays all.
Stay safe, stay
Congrats,
warm,
guys.
everybody.
Bye,
Good night.
Nicholas.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Terry. Bye, Charlie.
Bye.
Thanks again, Alyssa. Thanks again, Madison. Thanks again, Blair.